All right, and we are live. What's going on, everyone? It is Thursday, April 29th. Welcome to the Volleyball Source podcast. Today we have a very special episode. As you see from the screen in front of you, unless you're listening to this later, I am not alone. Today we are going to be doing a bit of a roundtable to preview the 2021 CEV Champions League Superfinals that go down this Saturday, both the men's and the women's. So today I am joined by two of our insiders. Joining me from Italy is Giovanni Montanari, also known as user TheMontyJohnson on Reddit and on the Discord. And then coming in from Poland, unfortunately his webcam broke down just before this, so we won't be graced by his handsome face, but we will be graced by his soothing tones, Mr. Pawel Adamcyk. Hopefully I said that properly. He is our insider from Poland. And boys, how's it going? Welcome to the show. Glad to have you on.
It's my pleasure.
Nice to be here.
Great. Now, it's great because we do have, a fan from Italy. Monty, you're usually a Lube fan, though, so,
Yes.
we'll give it to you. And then Pavel, you are from, you are a diehard Zaxa fan, as we've learned on the Discord many times. So I'm very excited. This one we're gonna preview the superfinals going on this Saturday, and we're gonna get into a little bit, talk a little bit of volleyball, and prepare everyone for what should be, some of the biggest volleyball matches we're gonna see this year that aren't the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I would say it's the premier match of European volleyball. Usually, it's we have two of the best teams in the whole of Europe. They played some of the best volleyball we've seen this whole season, so it should be a great match.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were kind of hoping to see Zaxa versus Trento earlier, since they are a bit more unique than usual Champions League finalists in their style. So we got that in the end, in the grand final. And I think we should be happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be a bit of a weird one, though, as we have two teams who didn't win their respective leagues. I know. When's the last time that's happened?
Zenit Kazan didn't win the Russian championship in 2019, but Lube won the Italian championship, of course. I'm going to do a quick check. Just a second.
I'm just looking, and
I think from our Discord, someone had mentioned it had been like 2013 when it was Belgorod and
Cuneo.
And Cuneo, yes.
Cuneo.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Was there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Ironically, Zaxa was where? Sorry.
There, and Champions League Final Four. They finished fourth.
Okay. So, Pavel, before we get started, has Zaxa ever won the Champions League?
No, Poland has almost never won. There one time, Płomień Milowice, so team from
in
very
1978.
Yes, 1978 to be precise.
Okay.
That's the only Champions League title Polish club has ever won. We had like CEV Cup came to Poland, but it was in women's volleyball, and it was like I think 12 years ago.
Okay, so.
But besides that, nothing.
It's been a while for Poland. Of course, on the other side, Italy, the Superliga, no strangers from being in the finals, and the same thing with Trentino. No stranger whatsoever for Trentino to be in the finals.
Yeah, Trentino had a run of 3 consecutive Champions League titles in 2009, 2010, and 2011. Especially 2011, and the finals were played in Bolzano, which is just north of Trento. And so Trento played at home that Final Four. They won. So three straight consecutive Champions League in 2009, 2010 and 2011. Then they came back to the finals in 2016, the Final Four in Krakow, but they led 2-0 against Zenit Kazan, but Zenit Kazan then won 3-2. So it's essentially the fifth trip for Trento to the finals.
Wow. Okay. So how many finals trips for Zaxa? Is this the first finals trip?
First.
Okay.
First final, and they were in final for 3 times before, but 2 of those were back in 2002 and 2003.
Okay. Fair enough.
So ages ago.
Wow. So that's surprising to me, considering how dominant Zaxa has been over the past few years. But I'm guessing that clubs like Skra Belchatov have been a little bit more present in the Champions League than Zaxa Kozle. Did I pronounce that
Zaxa's domination is more recent.
Did I pronounce that properly? How do we pronounce Zaxa properly?
Zaxa Kędzierzyn Koźle.
Okay, so I was nowhere close.
No, I will still call
Polish is not
I will just call them Zaxa just to be safe.
Yeah. Zaxa from here on out. And then, of course, in the women's match, we're going to touch on that as well. We have 2 of the best teams in Europe. I mean, basically the 2 top teams in Europe. It's a little bit different on the women's side because you have Imoco Conigliano coming from Italy, where they won the Superliga championship, and then from Turkey, it's going to be Vakıfbank Istanbul, where they also won their championship in Turkey.
Yeah, it was a very, very dominant season for Conegliano. They are on a 62-game winning streak. They are yet to lose this season. It was, I would say, almost a massacre in the Italian Championship. In the regular season, they won all possible points. They lost a total of 8 sets. And they lost more than 1 set just in 2 matches this whole year, and they have a winning streak that goes back to December of 2019. And on the other side, we have Vakıfbank, who has had a bit of issues with COVID. I believe they won the Turkish championship also because their opponent Fenerbahce had a lot of COVID cases, and so Fenerbahce forfeited Game 3 of the Turkish finals. But Vakıfbank also has issues with COVID. I believe they had like half a dozen positive cases between players and staff about some days ago. I don't know if they all recovered, but the super finals is in 2 days, so they got a bit fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Bit of it was very, as you said, a very dominant road for Conigliano. Paola Egonu has been absolutely lights out for them. I would almost say she is more dominant in the women's game than Wilfredo Leon is dominant in the men's game.
Take out the almost, because she is an absolute force to be reckoned with. If you go and watch the percentages in the women's Italian championship, Egonu leads the non-middle blockers, and she had like a 54% spiking percentage, whereas the second place in the whole non-middles had like 48.5 or something. It was, and Egonu led like the league in points per set. She had almost 6 points per set, whereas second place had like about 5. Wow. Egonu is really dominant, and the fact that she's only 23, she'll be 23 later this year. It's a testament on how dominant she is. I think her and Tijana Boskovic are easily the best players in the world right about now.
Yes, I agree. Of course, Boskovic losing in the quarterfinals to Busto Arsizio, playing for Eczacıbaşı. Exo Sabaji, they didn't have the pieces around her that Ogonu has at Canigliano. And then, of course, when you look at Vakavbank, a very, very complete team, led by Isabel Haak, the Swedish right side, who has been absolutely dominant for them, but also featuring athletes like American Michelle Barch. They had to go. They had to go all the way to a golden set, or no, not even a golden set. Was it the
semis?
Was it a golden set to get over Busto? I can't remember now.
No, because Busto won 3-2 in Turkey, but then Vakifbank absolutely decimated Busto. In Italy, they won 3-0. I believe the first set was like 25-12 for Vakifbank. And so they won. They didn't need the golden set. They just won because they scored 4 points instead of Busto's 2.
Yeah, you're right. Now that I remember that, Vakifbank also led by arguably the best setter in the world, Maja Ođenović, out of Serbia. We did see that Maja kind of struggled in that one match against Busto that they lost. So they really ride the wave of how well Maja is playing.
Well, yeah, the setter is always the kind of like the most important piece, I would say, in a team. If a setter can't find his or her groove, it's very difficult even for the best hitters in the world to hit a decent. When a setter fails to do whatever he or she wants, the hitters can only do so much. So having a good setter who is in the right place at the right time can be a powerful weapon. But if the setter isn't right, it could be very, very bad.
Yeah, as we saw in that semifinal, the first game of the semifinal matchup against Busto Arsizio, where they were up 2-0, and all of a sudden Busto came back, pretty much on the back of that two-headed monster that Busto had between Alexa Gray and Camilla Mingardi. Although, I do think that this one should be a good one. It's basically what everyone has wanted from the get-go for this matchup, right? Like every time there's been matches on YouTube, the Turks and the Italians go toe-to-toe in the comment section about which one is better. And at Saturday at 5 p.m. European time, 11 a.m. Eastern time here in Toronto and on the Eastern Seaboard, North America, you're going to be able to watch that one. Now, if you do want to watch that one and you don't want to shell out for the Eurovolley TV subscription, you can purchase the matches for pay-per-view via Facebook. And you're going to be able to watch the matches via Facebook. I can't remember how much it's going to be, but it's going to be less than the €5 it is for monthly for Eurovolley TV.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it would make sense. In Italy, here the women's match will be broadcast by the national TV, not by Rai Sport, but directly from Rai 2, which is like the second national channel. So it's going for free on the national TV.
Wow.
And I expect that it's going to do some decent ratings because volleyball has a rather large following in Italy. I would say among the ladies it's definitely the number one sport, and among the men I would say it's no worse than third, I would say. And so I expect it's going to gather a rather large audience, but especially as you said, the only thing that could have prevented a Conegliano versus Vakifbank final was the draw, essentially, because otherwise they were from the get-go the best two teams, and they've proven it times and times again.
Yeah, I suspect that the CEV would have done almost anything that they could to make sure that those two teams met in the finals. I'm not going to suggest that anything illegitimate happened, but I've been on the back end of some of these volleyball tournaments and know how things work, and I'm sure that the appropriate measures were taken to make sure that the two best teams in the world were to be facing off in the finals. Given that both teams won their pools, they were very dominant over the course of the entire competition. This is what everyone wants to see, and this is what everyone is gonna pay the money for. So
Yeah.
I'm very
It would make
excited for
sense.
this one.
Well, I am too, because I believe it's going to be an awesome match.
I'm just interested.
It's a bit.
Sorry, go ahead, Bava.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a poetic matchup because not only both teams dominated their domestic leagues, they are also historically. I mean, Fakiv Bank is historically a team with the most victories in a row, and Conegliano actually is going for this record at the moment.
Oh, really?
And they can stop them, Yeah, I think Fakiv Bank has over 70 wins in a row, and that's like a Guinness record. Conegliano is on
62.
the way. Yeah.
Wow. So if Vakif Bank were to stop them here in this match, it would be doubly sweet. Not only are they winning the Champions League, but then they're also preserving their undefeated streak for at least a few more years. Because as you noted, this winning streak for Conegliano has been going on longer than COVID, starting all the way back to December of 2019, which is absolutely crazy.
And before that match that they lost in late 2019, they were on a 13 game winning streak. And before that, I believe there was another winning streak. They are 98 for 100 in their last matches or something crazy like that. They've been absolutely incredible in the last few years.
It is important to note, however, that Pawel Adamcyk did win the last Champions League with Novara.
Yeah.
With Novara, yes, which is the penultimate defeat of Conegliano in the last period. It was an upset, I would say, because Conegliano had just won the Italian Championship against Novara, but Novara managed to upset them 3-1 in the finals of Berlin.
Yep, absolutely. Now, jumping over to the men's side, where our expertise lie a little bit better. We're gonna shape this a little bit differently. I'm gonna start, Pawel. I'm gonna start with you, and I want you to give me the case for Zaksa. Why do you think Zaksa is going to win this match?
Okay, so I think that Zaksa is, as a team, that tends to make less mistakes than Trento. That's definitely clear, I think. And very, very hard to break, while being good at dealing with some more oppressive spikers on the other side. So while Trento has amazing service, Lube and Zenit were unable to basically break them. So I don't know, I think they can actually survive against Trento, and it has a huge emotional value on Zaksa's side, since Toniutti is leaving, Zatorski is leaving, Kochanowski is also leaving, maybe Grbic will also leave, we will see. And especially, but the case is more about Zatorski and Toniutti, and Zatorski is it's his 7th year in the club, for Toniutti is his 6th, and Zaksa basically started to dominate this Plus Liga back 6 years ago when Toniutti joined with De Giorgi coaching them. And from that time, I think they have around 80% win rate in the league. So that's like an end of an era for them. And as far as I know, they really enjoy playing here, and their relationship with the club is great. So they would like probably to leave on a good note. And there is no better way to leave by winning Champions League for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially after having lost the Plus Liga finals the way that we did. Let's touch on that for a second, because I think everyone involved here was very surprised that they lost the way they did to Jastrzębski Węgiel. So, Pawel, what do you think happened there in the finals?
I think they ran out of fuel, basically. I think they lost the title a bit earlier, back in Bełchatów, in game 2 when they've lost to Skra, and instead of having a week to rest, recover, and train for a bit, finally, they had to play another game with Skra 3 days later. So they played every 3 days, basically, they had a game to play with something to play for. And they basically have nothing left to do. Like, they run out of their strength, and the Jastrzębski used it against them because that's what they do. I mean, just taking a look at Semeniuk and his favorite spike,
Yeah, that 4-4
and
spike.
instead of that one, and instead of hitting it in, it basically every time he hit the net, he tried to do that back against Jastrzębski Węgiel. So I think they just run out of fuel, but they will have some time to recover, train maybe for a bit, and it's just one game, so it's easier to find, something inside to win just one game instead of winning 2 or 3 like in playoffs.
Do you think it's easier to win against a team like Trento that you don't really know and you've never played for before, as opposed to playing a Jastrzębski Węgiel where you've played them so many times over the course of the past few years and they just know your team in and out?
I don't know, Zaksa also know Jastrzębski like way better than they know Trento, so yeah, I don't think it's that big of a difference. It's a different match, but yeah, I think they will be really well prepared for the final as well. So
Fair enough. So, Monty, let's jump to your side in Trento. Why do you think Trento's going to win?
I think Trento maybe plays less as a team, but they have the better individualities. They have Nimir Abdelaziz, who has been one of the best players in the world this season. They have Riccardo Lucarelli, another amazing player. They also have Srečko Lisinac, one of the best middles in the game, and in general, I think they have more talent, more raw talent than Zaksa. I believe also Trento could maybe still have a bit of untapped potential, because all season I believe they were very close to hitting like 100% of their potential, but they never quite hit it. They had a very lengthy winning streak back in the year, but ever since then they kinda faltered a bit. They were bounced back by Perugia in the Italian Cup semi-finals, and then they went on to defeat Perugia in the Champions League semi-finals. A bit of revenge, but even there, I don't think they managed to put together all the pieces of the puzzle. And since they have had more time to rest, I believe they had more time to concentrate on training and preparing for this match.
Fair enough. Now, you mentioned a few of the pieces of the puzzle. As we were getting this show set up, we talked about the crucial errors that Micheletto made in that semi-final series, and we've kind of seen Trentino go back and forth between Micheletto and Dick Coy on that left side position. I mean, it's funny because earlier in the season, Lucarelli was nowhere to be found, right? And it was mostly Dick Coy and Micheletto. But now, towards the end of the season, Lucarelli has been absolutely outstanding, and it's kind of been the struggles between Dick Coy and Micheletto that have let Trentino down.
Yeah, Lucarelli started the year slowly because he had a rather big event in his life. His father, unfortunately, passed away earlier in the season, so he had to fly to Brazil. He attended the funeral, and then he almost immediately flew back to Trento. So he had a bit of an issue, and really the Trento season started very, very slowly. At one point, I believe they they had 2 wins and 3 losses, and were like fourth to last.
They were five
the-
and 5-8 at one point was Trentino, right?
Exactly.
Heading into their first week of Champions League. They were 5-8, and I mean I think it's also important to note for Trentino as well too that they came through the qualifier, right? Like they were in a situation where it was them against Dynamo Moscow in the qualification match, and we know that Dynamo Moscow eventually went on to win the CEV Cup.
Yeah, essentially because Trento last year was in Champions League before, of course, the pandemic hit, and technically, when the Italian Championship stopped, they were not in a position to qualify for Champions League, but since they were in contention for the 2019-2020 Champions League, CEV essentially gave them a wild card, so they had to play 2 rounds of preliminaries. And they played very strongly in those matches. They played 4 matches, and they won all 12 sets they played without any particular problems. Especially their win against Dynamo Moscow seems very, very interesting looking back now, because Dynamo Moscow went on to win the CEV Cup, the Russian Cup, and the Russian Championship. And Trentino then went on to win all 6 matches in their pool, and they won both matches against Berlin in the quarterfinals, and their only loss in the whole Champions League came in the second leg of the semifinals against Perugia, where Trento won 2 sets and so didn't need to win the match, and so in the tiebreak they sent the entire bench in, so they essentially punted away the match. So they're essentially undefeated in Champions League, basically.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it is important to note, though, that Dynamo Moscow was missing Svetsan Sokolov in that match, and I mean, not having Sokolov is a huge piece missing for Dynamo Moscow. So I don't know, like if Svetsan Sokolov had been there for that match, you know,
it could have ended differently. Yeah, I guess it would not have been as dominant of a performance for Trento. And I just want to touch briefly on you mentioned the Koi or Micheletto. I think at the start of the season, everyone thought that Micheletto was going to be on the bench, and that Koi was going to be the starter. But eventually, midway through the season, when Trento had a bit of a COVID scare, Giannelli and the reserve setter, whose name I can't remember, unfortunately, both got COVID, so they had to move back Nimir Abdelaziz from opposite to play setter for a couple of games. And in those matches, they had Micheletto play as opposite, and he fared very, very well in those matches. So eventually Lorenzetti, the head coach of Trento, decided to give Micheletto the nod for a couple of starts, and he never looked back. I think he started all the matches since then, and managed to relegate the veteran Decoy to the bench. And I think this is it's the start of a very, very interesting career for Micheletto, who is 6'7", 2 meters, and he's lefty, and he's very, very good defensively and on the reception as well. I think he's going to be one of the men to follow for the future.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Watching Micheletto this year has been very interesting. He doesn't overpower people all that much, but he does hit smart shots, and his serve receive is very, very solid. You know, it's interesting to me because you mentioned that Trentino isn't as team-based as Zaxa, and I almost tend to disagree. Maybe it's because I'm comparing Trentino against like Lube and Perugia, and both of those teams are very they're very dominated by athletic athletes, right? Whereas I do find that Trentino might employ the best serve and block game in the pro game right now, while Zaxa's block defense transition game is pretty much second to none. So that matchup for me is going to be very, very interesting between the two teams here in the Super Final.
Yeah, I would say it's like the irresistible force and immovable object, almost.
Yeah. Pawel, how do you think Zaxa is going to be able to deal with the two monster Serbian middles of Sreko Liznak and Prodaskinin from Trentino?
Yeah, definitely. Like, they haven't played against such a good duo because Lube has Simon, but Tanzani is not as good as Serbians.
Mm-hmm.
And Russian middles, while very, very good, they are not at the same level. However, I feel like Zaxa is really good at playing against big middles, like very athletic middles, like Lisinac especially. However, it's not going to be maybe the easiest thing in the world, but aiming more at the wingers, because Trento's wingers aren't as good of blockers as their middles, will be their way to go. And basically trying to avoid their spiking through the middle will be the way. I mean, Nikola Grbic, Zaxa's coach, talked to the players during timeouts quite often how they should never spike where Simon is against Lube, which is, well, good tactic, obviously, but I think they will need to do the same thing against Trento and both Serbian middles.
Do you think, like for me, it's really going to come down to how much pressure Zaxa can put on Trentino from the baseline in their serve game. Do you think that Zaxa is going to be able to put enough pressure on to stress out that passing line? Because the passing line of Lucarelli, Rossini, and Micheletto, if they go with him, is a very solid passing lineup.
Yes, very solid. I'm very interested to see how Micheletto will handle the pressure, because it will be the biggest game of his life for sure. But they can also aim at Lucarelli. I mean, he's a solid passer, but I think if they hit him a few times, they might be able to get something there. But they will definitely need to put a lot of pressure on Trentino, because handling, especially Lisinac offense, will be very, very difficult. And this might be what decides the outcome of the game, actually, in my opinion. Like, these little things, and making sure Giannelli can't play a lot with both Serbian middles might be it will decide who wins in the end. At least in my opinion, because I'm not sure you all agree.
Monty, where do you think success was going to lie for Trentino?
Well, I definitely think the ability to pass well, it's definitely needed for a Trentino win, because Giannelli, unfortunately, didn't seem to be that much efficient when the team passing was not positive, and especially in the semifinals against Lube, when Lube managed to serve hard, Giannelli wasn't at the top of his game. And so I think that if Trentino manages a decent output from passing, I think their chances definitely will be better to win. And I also think that they need a good game from Nimir, because when Nimir plays badly, Trentino almost always loses. Especially in like the Italian Championship semifinals against Lube, he played a couple of very bad matches with spiking percentage under 40%, and so I think that They are going to, in the final three matches in the Italian Cup, in the Italian semifinals against Lube, Nimir was under 40% spiking percentage in all the last three matches, which Trento all lost. And so I think they need Nimir to be at the top of his game, which I guess it also depends on the passing, but I think that a decent passing and a good game from Nimir could be the decisive factors.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that, to put Namir in a good spot, you only need to be passing kind of like a 2, It needs to be a positive pass, but it doesn't need to be a perfect pass, right? But they are going to need that perfect passing to be able to release both the middles. And as you said, they're going to need for Namir to be hot so that you're creating the decision for Zax's middles to kind of decide, are they going to the right side to Namir, or are they going to be teeing it up in the middle? I personally think that we're going to see a lot of middle kind of early in the match. They're going to establish Lisniak and Produskinen early, and then feed a whole lot of volume to the right side for Namir, because especially when you got Micheletto there, like, they don't usually give him a lot of volume, and you're going to need Namir to carry the load. Now, Pavel, we have seen kind of two different middle outlooks for Zaxa this year. Obviously, Jakub Kokonowski, Kuba, as he's well known, has kind of been their number one middle. Although undersized in the middle, he is one of the most successful middle players in the world, one of the most efficient. But then we've kind of seen some David Smith and a little bit of Reino. I forget.
Yeah.
I forget how to pronounce his first
Yeah,
name.
Reino. Yes. I mean, I'm completely sure that Smith will start. That's basically obvious. But Reino is an interesting case since he was contracted. He joined Zaxa ages ago. He was loaned out a few times. He came back. But I guess his biggest weapon is his service. And it worked really, really well against Lube, especially. But when it comes to Zaxa middles, I mean, it's Kochanowski and is clear number one, and everyone knows that. And even though he's a bit undersized, he's very, very athletic. And just looking at him back in 2018 and him now, like, he's way bigger. And just looking where he is when he's blocking, his size is not a problem, not an issue. But when it comes to 1 and 2 middle, sometimes Tonuti plays a lot with Smith, since everyone expects him to play with Kochanowski a lot. He often starts with pipe, so before setting to Kochanowski, he is using the back row because, well, everyone is watching Kochanowski, and he's very, very difficult to deal with since he jumps to the left, jumps to the right, sometimes he spikes to the left, sometimes to the right, like, sometimes he will just tip. Very, very, I guess, annoying player when he's on the other side. While David Smith is this more experienced player, Zaxa has like quite young squad with some more experienced players, and David is one of them. And the biggest thing he brings to the team, I think, it's his experience, because he played at the biggest stage possible, Olympics, and I'm not worried about him at all, even though he is not as good as his opponents in terms of middles. I'm pretty sure he will be able to give Zaxa something to help him win the game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. David Smith's experience is well known. He's been the captain of the American national team as well, so he's been there for a very, very long time. We did see in the Plus Liga finals both Lucas Slivka, I don't know why, Slivka, and Kamil Semeniuk struggle quite a bit. Do you think that they're going to be able to bounce back?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Semeniuk had only one really bad game, this second in the final. Slivka was pretty poor in both, but they were their worst games of the season for both of them. They haven't played really poorly before. and they have 2 weeks to recover, and it's just one game. So, like our commentators often say, like they will have to find something inside, like give something extra, if not from the heart, then from the liver. And I'm pretty sure they will do just that. So,
Is that what you guys say in Poland? If not from the heart, from the liver?
yes, from the liver.
Why?
Yes.
Why from the liver?
I don't know. Like, well, you search for something extra. You can add from heart, from I don't know, from your lungs.
The stomach.
But,
The stomach.
yeah, but then you look where else. And yeah, liver comes to mind, and that's what our commentators like to say quite often.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm sure both of these teams will be exercising livers afterwards. Just one in celebration and one in mourning.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm pretty sure they will.
You mentioned kind of having those 2 weeks off. 2 weeks off is obviously a big time to take some time off and prepare. But on Trentino's side, it's been well more than that. How many days since Trentino last played a match, Monty?
It has been 22 days today, so it will be 24 the day after tomorrow. So they will be from having coming out of essentially 3.5 weeks of rest. So,
do you think that provides like a little bit of rust for Trentino? Like, is that a real worry for them, especially in a one-game scenario?
yeah, I think it could be a worry because I think that 3.5 weeks are maybe a bit too much. On the other hand, it gives maybe more time for Trentino to recover, like mentally, and to, maybe they have. Surely they have had time to study Zaxa more closely because, of course, while Trentino was already resting, Zaxa was still playing. So I think it could be a disadvantage, but it could also be an advantage. I guess we have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that both teams are going to be fresh and rested heading in, but I think it's going to be interesting to see whether or not Trentino has a little bit of rust. But then again, there's nothing really that they can do about it because that's what they got, and then it's the superfinals, and you know what, you have to show up for the superfinals.
Definitely.
Now, what do you guys think? Who do you guys think is going to be maybe a dark horse player to show up for this game? Like, do you think Micheletto is going to show up for Trentino, or the one player that we haven't talked that much about for Zaxa on the right side is Lukas Kaczmarek?
I can see Kaczmarek actually performing like really well. He was Zaxa's best player against Jastrzębski. He was back when Zaxa was like losing this game. Kaczmarek was keeping them alive, and while when Śliwka and Semeniuk were struggling, he was still going strong. So if everyone gets better than they were against Jastrzębski, then I guess Kaczmarek will be Zaxa's best player in the final. So I can see him actually performing and making a name for himself, and case for getting a call from Heinen and actually playing in Tokyo.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, you guys know that I've had some hot takes before that I could actually see Kaczmarek playing minutes in Tokyo for Poland because of how he can work within a system and how he doesn't need to be the number one option. But I do, however, think that with the blocking prowess that Trentino has on the right side of the court with both Nemir and Gianelli, that I think Kaczmarek is going to be seeing a lot of volume in this match.
Yeah, probably.
Monty, is that a worry for you and Trentino when you've got a young Micheletto? He is 6'7" and he's a pretty decent blocker, but he's still young. And then of course you've got Lucarelli, who isn't the most dominant blocker over there on that left side.
I guess the blocking from the outside hitters could be a bit of a problem. I think Zaxa is going to target them, but on the other hand, I think that having Lucarelli or Micheletto as the weakest link in the block is still, I would say, a luxury, because the other pieces of the block are either Lisinats or Podrashanin or Nimir or Giannelli. I don't think it's that much of a concern. I don't think it's that huge of a weak point. Sure, it's not a strong point, but I don't think it's something that it could derail entirely the Trento gameplay. I would say, sure, they will try and guard it, but I don't think it's going to be so important from a certain point of view. I think they can fix the issues without particular problems.
Yeah, and that's fair. For me, another important part that I think we're going to see is how well they use Slivka in the pipe. Because when they're able to open up, and Slivka is so dominant and so, he's such a good option when he's in the back row, that it really opens up the opens up the offense for Zaxa, and not only does allow them Tony Yuki to go to him in the pipe, but it also opens up that 4-4 shot for Semeniuk when he's got a one-on-one block.
Definitely, and I think that I've touched on that before, but I think Tonyuti might actually start with using a lot of pipes in the beginning of the game instead of using middles, which is a bit unusual because usually setters first establish their middles and then start playing with the back row and using pipe. But Tonyuti proved that he is willing to do just that, so the opposite of usual rules, and start with using pipe. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of pipes in the beginning with both Semeniuk and Slivka, since they are a threat from the back row. I would say Slivka is a bit quicker, definitely, but they are both very dangerous.
I think that they might be more effective from the back row, considering how big that block for Trentino is going to be. When, like, if they're not going fast to the outside and you've got four hands in front of you and that middle blocker is Lishniak and Podraskin, I could see both Slivka and Semeniuk, who aren't overly big, either of them, to have some problems. So I think you're absolutely right. I do think that we're going to see Tonyuti go to the pipe quite a bit.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see at a certain point, like if Nimir is really just running hot, do you think we're going to see Giannelli just start to feed him every single ball, both in the front row and on the C ball?
Well, I think popular wisdom says hit the iron while it's still hot. So I would think if Nimir starts to be very effective, I think Giannelli is definitely going to feed him more, and I think that. However, finding a balance between Nimir and the rest of the team could be maybe the decisive factor, because as much as Nimir could get hot, he could also get cold. So maybe I think Giannelli should ride Nimir a bit when he starts to make some good plays, but he must know also when to stop to feeding excessively Nimir, because when he gets very hot, he gets very hot and he plays excellently. But when he gets cold, he could be a problem. So again, he has to find the best balance possible.
Yeah. And I definitely agree. And that's why I kind of think it's going to be so important for Zaxa to put pressure on, and on the other side for Trentino to be able to have a positive serve receive, just to open up the floor for Giannelli. Now, Giannelli isn't someone that we haven't talked about all that much, but this is going to be his first Champions League final, correct?
No, it's not. He was already there in 2016 when Trento was up to nothing, and
You're right.
they blew the lead to Zenit Kazan.
You're right. So he has that chip on his shoulder. He's been there
Hmm.
before, albeit now 5 years ago. So that was a little bit of time ago. How important do you think that experience is going to be for Trentino in general in this match?
Well, I don't think any experience could be looked negatively at, and I think that those 5 years could be very very important because Gianelli moved from being kind of a surprise. In general, I remember his first big year in the Italian league in 2014-2015 when he kind of surprised everyone. He was like pro ready at the age of 19 basically. Um, and from there he started to develop quite nicely. I think I would argue he's in the top five best setters in the world, and I think that these 5 years of experience have helped him a lot. And I think the setter matchup it's going to be very very interesting because at times people have described the setting of Gianelli as like his worst part of the game, essentially because he's very athletic, he's very he, he has a good reaction and that. Whereas on the other side we have Tognuti, who is basically the best pure setter. He's the last of the old style setters who set the ball and then don't do much of else, I would say. So it's kind of like the last of the old setters versus one of the more modern examples of setter. So it's going to be a very nice matchup, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think for Gianelli, you mentioned that, as we say here in Canada, he does a lot of good things, but setting isn't one of them. While he's not as flashy and as precise as Tognuti, Tognuti, he's got pinpoint accuracy. He puts his hitters in a good spot all the time, and he can also run an offense that is really, really going to open things up. I do find that Gianelli's strengths are he does put his hitters in a good position consistently, right? Not often do you find his hitters kind of, we're not talking about Travica here. He's not putting his hitters in a position to make errors, right? But he also just manages the team very well. He manages their emotions very well, and he manages the load management, if you will, for how much volume he's going to give each of his hitters. So while he isn't, as you said, I do agree that he's a much more complete athlete when it comes to his serving and his blocking and his defense than Tognuti, although maybe not the defensive side. Tognuti's been known to make some digs. I do think that his management of the team is going to be right up there with, the maestro that is Ben Tognuti.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Pawel, for you, is this kind of a bittersweet moment, the fact that you guys are in this Champions League final, but this is the last match that you're going to have with this team that has been so dominant?
I got used to that by now. Rumors about Tognuti leaving started back in December, I think, so there was a lot of time to get used to it, and I think it will be like an additional motivator for him, for Tognuti and Zatorsky to win this game. And it will be a different era, but I think it was only a question of when they are going to leave Zaksa. Maybe not Zatorsky, but Tognuti definitely. I was pretty sure he is going to leave. Volleyball likes changes, and he played for Zaksa like it's his 6th season, so it was like he had to leave someday. So, and Zaksa had to find a way to replace him. And if there is one chairman I would trust to do a good job together with coach, it's Sebastian Świderski, so Zaksa's current chairman, well known in Italy and in Lube especially, I guess.
But Monty, how about for you? I know you're not a Trentino fan. You're a Lube fan, so this one might be a little bit bittersweet. But what do you think? Like, is Trentino viewed as Italy's team here for this final? Like, does the entire country get behind them in this case?
This is a kind of a difficult question. I think that Trentino maybe can get more fans on their side than Perugia would have had, because Perugia has a bit of more negative feedback from the other teams in Italy. Like Perugia is viewed a bit negatively from the general volley public, and whereas Trentino is viewed a bit better. But I don't think Trentino is going to get 100% of the support from the Italian fans. I think maybe Conegliano is going to attract more fans to their side, because Conegliano, it's the juggernaut that nobody could touch this year in Italy, and so they came, they saw, and they conquered. Whereas Trentino had a bit of a different path. And since Trentino is already a team that won many Champions Leagues, maybe they are going to attract less favor from the general public.
Interesting. But I'm guessing, Pavel, for on the Polish side of things, the whole country would be pulling for Zaksa, just in the terms
Yes,
that it would be
definitely.
the first Champions League title for the Plus Liga.
Yes,
Definitely.
definitely. Even right after the final, first interviews live from the arena, and I think Łukasz Wiśniewski was asked about Zaksa, and he said like, "Yeah, I wish them the best, and we will all watch and cheer them on back from home." So and he even said, "I know they will come back with the title, but as someone who spent a lot of years in Kędzierzyn, like I think 7 or 8 years, it's kind of understandable."
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I kind of get that sense that Poland is maybe more unified on that front than Italy. But I mean, as we've seen in this Discord chat many times, the geopolitics of Italy seem to kind of creep into the volleyball world as well.
Yeah.
Now, is there going to be fans in the stands for this match?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because the arenas have been closed completely since I want to say November, and I think they won't open until June. So the only people we are going to see in the stands are journalists, CEV employees, and the medical staff. Because I don't think any fans are going to be allowed in, because in the playoffs, in the men and the women, no team could open the arenas, and there's a big discussion for the basketball playoffs, which are about to happen, and even there some teams have asked, but the government still said no fans in attendance. They are going to reopen the stadiums, because the stadiums are, of course, open air, so there's more air recycle. But I don't think they are going to reopen the arenas, which for me is very stupid, because I've been in arenas, in closed arenas this season to watch some basketball games, and I got to say the protocols were enforced very strictly, and there was zero possibility of contracting COVID-19 in the arenas, because I've seen it firsthand. I think the Sports Palace was one of the safest places I've been in these last few months. And the decision to close the arenas, I think it was very stupid to begin with, but I don't think they're going to lift the ban. So we are stuck with no fans, unfortunately.
I mean, we saw no fans at the Imola GP Grand Prix in F1 a few weeks ago, and once again, that's a completely open-air event as well, so
Yeah.
it seems to be already dictated. Now, back in 2019, as we mentioned, it was a Lube Novara win, so it was a double Italian win. does that matter to Italy if there's that kind of dominance that both the men's and the women's Superliga teams are taking home the Champions League?
Well, I think definitely the general public would be very, very pleased with this. I think that for Conegliano, it's like their true mission, because we have seen ever since they added Paola Egonu to the roster, they added like I want to say it's like the cherry on top of the pie, but the pie is made of solid gold, and the cherry is a diamond as big as a fist, because you really it's adding such a dominant player to an already stacked team. Essentially, they created themselves as even the next level of super team, and so for Conegliano, this a victory in Champions League would be the crowning moment, the end of a perfect season. It would be, because they won all the matches, and it would be the 63rd consecutive victory stretching back from December of 2019, and so definitely for Conegliano it would be an amazing achievement, whereas for Trentino it would be another very nice achievement, because they kind of ended the season a bit disappointingly, because they lost in the Italian Cup semifinals to Perugia, and they lost in the Superlega semifinals to Lube, but for them winning the Champions League, I think it could change the outlook of the season from meh to good, because it's still a Champions League victories. Nobody is going to say, we just won Champions League. And so I think that a double Italian victory, it would be a great thing for the Italian scenario, I would say.
Now, Pavel, for on the Poland side of things, you guys are very much a medal favorite heading into Tokyo, into the Olympics. Unfortunately, maybe Italy not so much. I wouldn't say that they're. I would say that they're a medal threat, but I wouldn't say that they're a medal favorite amongst with the tops. Would that kind of be the perfect world for Polish volleyball if they were able to capture kind of their first Champions League and then follow that up with an Olympic victory as well?
Yeah, it would be perfect year, especially after some weird year due to COVID, and as after like such a long time since we won Olympics or even got a medal at Olympics, and winning first Champions League in ages, like first major wins for Polish club and first Olympic medal for like this generation would be absolutely a massive deal, and it would be like perfect for Polish volleyball. I would even say that just an Olympic medal would be a big success, even though we are big favorites. But we lost like 3 or 4 times in a row in the quarterfinals, even though we were one of the big favorites to actually make it to top 3 at least. So just getting past this quarterfinal and actually not ending 4th would be a success, even though some people would definitely still be disappointed. Yeah, I would call it a good year.
Fair enough. Well, let's jump into some predictions. Monty, starting with you, what is your prediction of the match? How do you think it's going to go? What do you think the final score is going to be?
I think it's going to be a 5-setter, definitely.
Okay.
I think it's going to be very, very evenly matched. I think, as we said, the Trentino serve and block were against the Zaxa defense and transition. I think Trentino is going to squeak by with a 3-2 win, but it's going to be very, very close. Like I would say not even 51-49%. I would say it's a 50.1 to 49.9% Trentino against Zaxa.
Okay, but you're obviously going for, you're the hometown boy. You're going to go for the Italian squad. Who do you think it will be the MVP of the match for Trentino?
the easy pick would be Nimir, but I think in the end, Lucarelli is going to be the most valuable player. And one brief note: you mentioned the home team. I don't know if they already decided which team is going to have their home jerseys, but Verona is literally downstream from Trento. They are crossed by the same river, and so they're very, very close geographically. So I would say Trento is the de facto home team because, as I said, they are almost next to each other. So I would say yes, the home team is going to squeak by.
Is this match being played in the same stadium that Verona's team plays in, or is this another stadium in Verona?
No, it's the same stadium, which is normally it would host about 5,000 fans. I think had the conditions been different, maybe the very, very picturesque scene of the Verona, the Roman Arena in Verona, could have been used because it is an arena that was built by the Romans, and like the 2018 World Championship in Italy started with a match in the open air. I think they could have had a match in the arena had circumstances been different.
That would have been something incredible. But I mean, with no
Definitely.
fans and no fans, there's not really a point to do that.
That's a rather ghastly, ghastly atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely open air, crickets going on. Not the best.
Very cold as well, because when you are in the same arena as say 5,000 people, it's going to be quite hot. Whereas on the contrary, if you play with nobody, it's somewhat colder.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Pavel, what about you? What's your prediction for a Zaxa win?
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping Zaxa wins, and I will go with prediction that sticks to that. So, but I agree. I think it will be a 5-setter, especially if Zaxa wins and their Champions League history, especially this year, is very full of very, very, very entertaining but nervous games, causing heartbreaks and heart attacks for their fans, definitely. So I would go with Zaxa taking the lead, actually, because Trento might be a bit rusty, then losing it all, and after a very close tiebreak, probably going above 15 points, taking it in some ridiculous fashion.
So you think we're going to go even like we're going to go to 5 sets and then we're going to go into overtime as well?
Yes, in the last set.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, that's how I would go with it.
Fair enough. What about MVP for Zaxa? That's definitely a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, not the easiest one. I guess, like, kind of ending the best possible story would be Camille Semenyo, Zaxa hometown player, someone who was on the rise this year, and like ending the year with such a high note would have been very impressive. On the other hand, someone like Tonuti or Zatorski would also be very, very fitting. And if I had to choose Zaxa the best player in Champions League, especially, I would probably go with Zatorski. So I would like to see him getting MVP in the end.
Fair enough. I think for the MVPs, my favorite on the Trentino side is actually going to be Gianelli. Depending on how he plays and how the offense is run, I think that he's definitely going to be one of the guys to watch, and he's definitely going to be one of the guys to show up, especially since he's been there before. And then I absolutely agree on the Zaxa side. I think that I'm looking at Toniuti to kind of to be the guy to lead it. I know I'm going with the safe choices. I'm going with the setters here, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it depends who will decide who gets this MVP award.
Do we know who is going to decide? Is that going to be Dan? Like, Dan works for the CEV, right? Like, he's going to be there on site. So let's just let Dan decide. Maybe he can poll the Discord during the match too to figure it out.
I think it's going to be decided by either journalists or the inner circle of CEV management, probably.
Fair enough.
I would say the last time they decided for a Champions League MVP, they gave it in 2019 to Juan Torreña, and I think it wasn't. I don't think it was the right choice. In that match, I think Sokolov was the best player. But then again, Juan Torreña seems to receive MVPs every time Lube wins. Sometimes even undeservedly a bit.
Fair enough. All right. Well, yeah. Since there's no Monterrey around, it's kind of an open open season for anyone to grab it. I mean, anyone can kind of show up in this match and play well. I mean, we've seen players on either side kind of step up throughout the season for both teams.
Yeah.
Great. Well, is there anything we haven't touched on? Is there anything we've missed so far?
I would say we covered all the topics. I would say we recapped the Zaxa season, Trento season, the players, who's hot and who's not, the women's side. If you want to have a bit of a talk about what could go on in the Olympics, I don't know.
Pawel, what were you gonna say there?
Yeah, I think the only one little tiny detail I would like to mention is between coaches.
True.
And starting rotations. And especially starting rotations, since Zaxa would actually love to have Tonuti in the front row when Micheletto is in the front row as Trento's weakest spiker on the wing. So basically stacking their weakness against Trento's weakness, and then have Kaczmarek against Lucarelli, while Trento would love the opposite way of that. So Lucarelli against Tonuti to let him go wild, and just have Kaczmarek against Micheletto, who will spike the least.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I think you mentioned that coaches battle. I think that's also going to be very interesting. Do you think Zaxa has the advantage because of how storied Gerbich is? Sorry, excuse me. I promise that's not.
Bless you.
Thank you very much. I promise that's not coronavirus. That's not one of the symptoms. But Gerbich is such a historied player. He's done it before as a player. Do you think that matters to the Zaxa players? I'm always so impressed by Zaxa timeouts, how calm and collected he is, even when they were down in the finals against Yashepsi Weijel.
Yeah, I think it will be definitely helpful, especially since Zaxa is not very experienced team. Semeniuk is quite young, Livka is still young, and Kaczmarek is very inexperienced. Even Kochanowski is not very experienced, but besides World Championships, he didn't play at senior level at the biggest stage. So having someone like Grbic, someone they look up to, and with true experience as a player and as a coach now, would be very helpful for them. And just like having someone like Zatorski, Tonuti, or Smith, so very, very experienced players, someone to look up to or just talk to sometimes, might be very, very important and helpful for them.
What about Lorenzetti on the Trentino side of things? Looking at his picture right now, he gives me very Dr. Ock vibes from the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire.
He does look a bit like William Dafoe when I look at him. I think that Lorenzetti has the experience from his side, because we tended to forget him, but he has been one of the more successful coaches in Italy in the past few years. Actually, Lorenzetti won his first Italian championship in 2002.
Wow.
So he has been one of the best coaches at the national level for a while, and I think that he is yet to win a Champions League, but I do think he has all the cards to lead a team to victory in Champions League, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I asked you guys for your guys' prediction, so it's only fair that I give mine. And sorry, Monty, but I'm actually going to side with Zaxa on this one. I think Zaxa, just the way that they've shown their dominance kind of all year. I know that they did have that blip against Szepczy in the finals, but I think that since they're playing a team that doesn't really know them and they don't know each other, it's just hard for me after everything I've seen from Zaxa this year. How many times I've maybe not actually bet against them, but kind of expected them to fall. I expected them to fall in the quarterfinals, and they didn't do that, and they've kept on rolling since then. So, they were able to take down Lube in the quarterfinals. Lube's the Italian league champion. So, just straight math tells me that I think Zaxa is going to be able to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's 51 to 49. It's going to be very evenly matched. I think anything shorter than a 5-setter is going to be a big surprise, at least in my eyes. I've seen both teams being quite dominant at times, and I think it's going to lead to a great match.
Yeah, I definitely agree. All right. Well, to wrap things up, any final words, any parting words? Pawel, we'll start with you.
Well, I just hope we won't be disappointed after finals, and we will see a 5-setter like we want to and we wish to. Because I can see the world in which one team just doesn't arrive and the other completely dominates them and wins 3-0. And because it's such an circumstances around this match are very unique. Zaxa comes after losing in Plus Liga and losing in a very, very poor style, especially for them, while Trento comes after losing in Italy, but also 4 weeks of not playing competitive games. So as long as we get a good game, I will be satisfied, but of course I hope Zaxa takes it in the end.
Monty, how about you?
Well, I do hope for a great match. I think we are going to get such a great match. And I think this rather troubled season of volley, the first, after the bloody pandemic, I think that a great match could be the great final Champions League match. Could be almost the perfect ending to such a season. We've seen Zaxa come back from the dead multiple times. We have seen Trento reach kind of their full potential, but not completely. So we have a very, very interesting matchup, and I hope we do see a great match.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You're going to be able to check out this match, the men's final, at 8:30 p.m. European time, and that is 2:30 p.m. here in North America on the East Coast, and 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. So if you are over in Vancouver or LA, you guys get to wake up, watch volleyball with your breakfast, and still have the entire day. If you're in Europe, you get to spend the entire day, hopefully outside, hopefully safe from COVID-19, and then go inside afterwards. Well, boys, really appreciate you guys coming on, bringing your expertise to the show. You guys, have way more information and way more knowledge of these two teams than I would ever. So I really appreciate you guys coming on and chatting with me today.
Well, it's been a pleasure for me as well. It's been a fun evening for me.
Are we going to be? Sorry, are we going to be doing a live chat on the Discord during the matches?
I would be available, yes.
Yeah, I will be free. I have whole day free, so I'm well prepared.
Pawel, you usually disappear when Zaxa's playing.
Oh, yeah, I used to. Well, I was often at home, and I was watching together. with my family because, well, I'm not the only Zaxa fan at home. And so whenever I was watching with someone, I wasn't checking my phone because I would be,
That would be
spending
rude.
more time with phone in my head.
Yeah.
However, this time I will be completely free. I took that. I didn't have to take the day off since 1st of May is actually a free day in Poland. So everyone who
Basically
wants to
everywhere.
watch will be free. Yeah.
Yeah.
And since I hope we will see even more fans this time, since Zaxa against Zenit, I think 700,000 people watched it live on
Wow.
Polsat Sport, and it's not an open channel, so it's kind of impressive.
Okay, good to know. Well, if you guys want to come join the Discord, it's going to be in the show notes. From here, just kind of scroll down if you're watching on YouTube. If not, you can head over to the website, volleyballsource.ca. Scroll down, it's right on the main page. Just click the Discord. Come join our Discord community. It's honestly so much fun. We've got quite a few people. We're over 125 people now
Yep.
from literally
Yes.
everywhere around the globe. Just a bunch of volleyball fans who are watching. As I said, we'll probably be doing a live voice chat, just discussing and watching the game all together, especially since we're locked down right now and we can't be there in person and we can't be congregating in person with friends and family. This is kind of the next best thing. So yeah, come join the Discord and we will see you guys on Saturday.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much again for joining us. Thank you, and thank you guys to you for tuning in. That is going to be end this episode, and we will see you for the CEV Champions League Super Finals 2021 on Saturday. Peace.